Hey guys, my name is Mara Sullivan. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's video is about Rue Mcclanahan, the Golden Girl, my favorite Golden Girl. I cannot do a whole series on my favorite influential women over 60 without talking about my favorite women over 60, the Golden Girls. That is my favorite TV show of all time, and as incredible as these ladies are on camera, as real people, they are even more phenomenal off camera. They have such incredible lives. So I will be doing videos on each of them: Betty White, B. Arthur, Estelle Getty. But I had to do the first video on Rue Mcclanahan because Blanche Devereaux is my, did I just say, what did I just say is her last name? Devereaux? That's how you say it, I think. Um, Blanche's character is my favorite Golden Girl, and I absolutely adore Rue Mcclanahan. She has such an incredible story. She is a cancer survivor. She has had 6 husbands. We will be talking a lot about that. Um, she, went through unemployment. She, didn't break into acting on TV until she was 30. I think it was around either 36 or 38, late 30s. She didn't even get on TV until she was in her late 30s. But she struggled so much throughout her life, but she also had a lot of fun, and her story is so much fun. It's so incredible. This video is a part of a whole series I'm doing here on my channel, my favorite influential women over 60. So if you have not seen any of the other videos in this series, go check those out. I've done a video on Cher, Meryl Streep, Lynn Whitfield, Phylicia Rashad, tons, Ina Garten, tons of my favorite women who I look up to, I admire. I learn the most from women who are older than me. And the Golden Girls are actually like a few of the women I'm going to do that are no longer with us. All of them have passed away, and it doesn't even feel like it. So please forgive me if I refer to Rue in the present tense when I talk about her in this video, because all the other videos that I've done, they're still alive. But I watch Golden Girls every day, so it feels like they're here. Like, I still like cannot wrap my mind around the fact that none of them are with us anymore. But if I refer to Rue in present tense, just know that's why. I know that obviously she and all of the cast have unfortunately transitioned. They are no longer with us. Betty White lived to be, I believe, 99 though, so she didn't do too bad. But all of these women lived such beautiful, such incredible lives. This series is inspired by people in my own life, always referring to me as a grandma. I have a lot of like grandma-like personality traits, and I always say I'm 20% Gen Z, 80% grandma. I am 26 years old, but at my core, I am a retiree, 80 years old, living at the old folks' home, like just enjoying my life. And yeah, I just have like a lot of grandma traits, and so I'm fully leaning into that by doing this series, and it has been so much fun. So if you saw the thumbnail of this video, then you know that before there were 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo, there were 6 husbands of Rue Mcclanahan. This woman, you guys, was married 6 times. She got married the last time to her 6th husband when she was 62 years old. So I have to start off this video by saying to anyone who is like me in their 20s and you're single and you might feel like you're behind, or you have so much you want to do but haven't done it yet, girl, you haven't even met your 3rd or 4th husband yet. Like, forget about meeting your first husband, okay? Like, you haven't met husband number 5, 6, or 7. Like, you have so much, like, you have so much life to live. There's no way you are behind. Like, she had her last marriage at 62. Like, we can get married multiple times. Now, I'm not saying I want any of you guys to do that. We always hope one and done is always the goal when it comes to marriage. However, forget about meeting your first husband. You haven't even met husband number 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, you have so much more to go, so much more life to live, that you are not behind. So like, I have to start off the video by saying that, because it ain't over till it's over, okay? And if there's one thing that I have learned from doing these videos on my favorite influential women over 60, is that it ain't over till it's over. Lenny Kravitz has that incredible song, but it's so true. So I'm not gonna go through each of the marriages, but I am gonna like do a brief overview of each one, because like I said, the goal with most people who dream of getting married, is that, it's one and done, but that is not always the case. Sometimes you gotta go through four, five, six of them before you meet Mr. Right. So, don't it's not recommended, but a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do, okay? But she definitely did. Um, so her first marriage, she was obviously pretty young, and basically what we would call her, the man she married first. Today we would kind of refer to him as like love bombing. They just didn't have that term back then because what had happened was the first marriage she describes as he was basically super into her and super lovey dovey, super romantic, very much wanted to be in a relationship with her until they got married. So, like, through the dating phase, the talking phase, whatever, she said that he was great, he was incredible, dream man. But the minute they got married, the switch flipped. And so she said that when they got married, he basically like freaked out and did not want the responsibility of being a husband, did not want the responsibility of raising a family. And he basically panicked and fell out of love with her, is how she pretty much describes it. She does have a book called I think it's like My Five Husbands, or My First Five Husbands and the Ones That Got Away. If you have not read that book, please, please, please read it. It's her memoir, and it's so much fun. It's so incredible. It's exactly what you would expect the woman who played Blanche. Like, she's just, like I said about all these women, they're just so much more phenomenal, even off camera. Like, their lives are incredible. Um, but, when it comes to men, when it comes to relationships, Rue Mcclanahan's like romantic life definitely resembles Blanche's character in that department, in the man department. Um, but yeah, her first husband basically like was very like love bomby and was like super into her, and then they got married, and then he wasn't into her at all. And so, unfortunately, she was pregnant, and he was acting a fool and didn't want to be with her, but they had a baby on the way. And she says that the day, she was in labor, and she said, number one, she had a horrible pregnancy because he didn't want anything to do with her or the baby. He didn't even want to talk about the baby. He didn't want to talk about the pregnancy. He didn't want to talk about the state of their marriage the entire time that she was pregnant. So she said her pregnancy was awful. And so the day she was in labor, she was at the hospital by herself, and she was super stressed. And her doctor told her, like, your health is at risk, the baby's health is at risk, you're way too stressed out. So the doctor had to call the husband and was like, you basically need to get here for the health of your wife and your baby. And so he came in. Again, he was super love bomby. She said that he like threw himself on the hospital bed and was like, I'm so sorry, I love you so much, what have I done, I've been acting terrible. And she delivered the baby. And the next morning, she literally said the next morning, her husband was gone. Like, he was gone. She couldn't find him. She never spoke to him again after that. Like, can you guys imagine? He basically just put on a show, and he was an actor, by the way. She said that he was a phenomenal actor, and he did what he does best. And he played the role of the I'm so into you, I really do want you, psych. No. Like, she said the next morning, literally the morning after she gave birth, he was gone. So, like I said, girl, forget about the first husband. You haven't even met the third, fourth one yet. So, you got a ways to go. Like, you are so not behind. Um, so she was left by herself with this newborn baby, and he was gone. So obviously she had to file for divorce. And as she was filing for divorce, she did open up a dance studio. I'm not going to go like in chronological order when talking about her life. I'm just going over like general things that we can all learn from her life and from her life lessons, and just, things that I learn and that I love about her story. Um, but she opened up a dance studio, and then, while she was like raising her son by herself because she had to make money, and she was like a born dancer, a natural dancer. She talks about in high school she owned her own, like, was the owner of her own dance studio. She took over the dance studio of her teacher, who basically left the business to her senior year of high school, like when she was in high school. And so she's always like been in entertainment, always, just been a very like independent go-getter kind of woman, as you would expect her to be. And so the husband left, and then they filed for divorce and had to raise this baby by herself. She opened up a dance studio, was able to make some money, and was still trying to pursue acting, was really struggling to get, her acting career off the ground, but she knew she could not raise the baby in New York. So before meeting her husband, or before marrying her husband, she was living in New York City. She's from Oklahoma, moved to New York City after college to pursue acting, and did the whole theater scene in New York, and then got on a play that um, moved to Ardmore, I believe, Pennsylvania, and that's where she ended up having her son and opening a dance studio, and tried to make that work, tried to get her acting career off the ground for a few years. Wasn't really able to make that work, ended up moving back home, living with her parents, and then she re-met one of her friends. That was her second husband, and they got married. And she said that they ended up being more friends than lovers, and so there was like no real like romance or spark in the relationship, and so she ended up getting divorced again. And so around this time, obviously her son is getting older, and then she moved back to New York. I think she was like she had like another, she was still trying to pursue acting basically, and then ended up moving her son to stay with her parents. And so, she was trying to get acting off the ground. She was struggling with that. She was on unemployment, and just sent her son to live with her parents in Oklahoma. While that happened, her sister basically wrote her a letter and was like, if you don't have like a stable job, basically if you don't get your life together soon, I'm going to adopt this kid, because by then I think he was like 7. She's like, I'm gonna adopt this kid if you don't get your ish together, because acting, anyone in the arts knows that being a starving artist is a real thing. If you are like going all in and trying to get it off the ground, it is, once you make it, you make it, but like that grind, like until you make it, the struggle is real. Okay, so she tried to get like acting off the ground, wasn't able to do that, and her sister was like, sorry, I'm like trying to make sure that my hair isn't covering the microphone so y'all can hear me. I'm sorry. But she was like, she didn't want to lose her son because her sister was threatening to adopt her son if she did not get a stable, steady income, a stable life. And so she had a man who was interested in her, and she married him. In, truth on brand. It was just very on brand. And what I found to be very interesting about this was that instead of getting like a real job, or like instead of, um, I don't know, just trying to create a more stable, steady income, or just like instead of quitting acting altogether, which she never did, she was like, you know what, I have this man who's interested in me, and it'll look really good, or at least it'll make my sister believe that I can provide a stable home for my child. And that's what she did. Like she ended up, it's so, like, it's not funny, and I don't like using that word because it's obviously a serious situation, but she chose to get married instead of like, getting a quote unquote like real job, or like instead of doing other things. But even if she had done that, honestly, I think that it would have been hard, even like, especially back then, for her to like fight against her sister as a single mom, anyway. And so I don't know, it was like a very sticky situation, but I just thought it was that part stuck out to me, because I'm like, she was like, oh, I can just I can just get married again. Like, I'm sure a lot more thought went into it than that, but you guys know what I mean. Like, she was like, oh, I have this man who's interested in me, I can provide a stable home for my son if I'm with him, and still pursue acting. And so that's what she did. What I love so much about this is that she says that she's like very unapologetic about wanting acting just as much as she wanted family. Like, she did not want one over the other, and she never wanted to choose one over the other, and she did everything she could her entire life to have both. And so she got married again. I believe that was the third time. I'm not keeping track, but I do know that she ended up marrying primarily to keep her son from getting taken away from her. So her son ended up coming back to live with her and her new husband. And that marriage was horrible. Even her son, I've watched, documentaries and interviews and stuff. Her son said that was a horrible marriage. I'm sure he was like super grateful that she kind of did that to keep him, but he talks about how the marriage was just horrible, and needless to say she got divorced. And she, that one, I heard her talk about, like, that marriage in particular, she really wanted to make it work because she had already been divorced twice by then. And so, at least I believe it was twice by then. Pretty sure he was husband number 3, not 4. But she like just talks really like openly about, and honestly, just that she wanted to make it work because she didn't want to get divorced again. She was like, with each of her marriages, she wanted, like, she went into it with the mindset like, this is it. And unfortunately it wasn't. And so she ended up getting divorced again. And again, her son's like getting older by this time. What I love so much is that she continues to pursue acting this entire time. And like I said before, she was on unemployment. um the husband that she married again was super horrible, but I believe by the end of that marriage she was like at least making like some more of her own money in acting. So she did ended up landing a TV role at, I believe she was either 36, it was either 36 or 38. I think what I read had two different ages. But her first TV role was a soap opera. She got somewhere around 36. We'll just meet in the middle and say she was 37 when she had the TV role. um but she was on a soap opera, so she, like, had some stable income. She said it wasn't until that point that her mom took her seriously, or like, her mother was able to like really believe that she was a true actress, and that she had a real acting career, because up until that point she was only doing theater. She had been in Broadway shows and different plays, but this was her first time on TV. And she was like, her mom took her seriously because she could turn her TV on every day or every week and see her on TV. And so um, I thought that that was very cool. But I also love that, like, that part of her story so much, because you don't know how long it's going to take you to make it. And I think it's really important to make sure that you never stop pursuing your dream, no matter what happens, like no matter how long it takes, no matter what obstacles come up. This woman had been through divorce, threatened to have her child taken from her, unemployment, like moving around from state to state. Like, she had been through it. And that entire time she never stopped pursuing acting. And I just think it's such a important reminder. I say this in all of my videos, but especially in today's society, because we're so accustomed to instant gratification and living in a microwave society. It is very, very, very important to be patient. I think patience is a skill. It's something that you have to develop, and it's really important to remember to give things, stick with something long enough to make it happen, like to give it time to happen. Stick with something long enough, um, so that it has time to develop and play out. And another thing she says is to perfect, to use your natural gifts, but perfect your natural gifts and abilities as much as possible. She knew she was a natural dancer. My favorite episode of Golden Girls is when her and Betty White do the tap dancing routine. They have, I'm going to leave a picture. They have these, like, the black and white outfits on. I believe, like, the top hats. It was when Dorothy had surgery. That's my favorite episode. The dance number that they do in that episode is incredible. Like, every time I see that episode, I'm like, that is show business. Like, they do not make them like that anymore. And oh my god, they're just phenomenal actresses. But I love them so much. Um, but yeah, stick with something long enough for it to happen. Not everything is going to happen overnight. You have to let things cook. You have to give things time to take off and to happen and to develop. And you have to give yourself time to develop and to perfect your craft and to get better. Not everything needs to happen instantly, and it's okay if you have to grind for a few years or a few decades. No matter how long it takes, just be committed, so committed to something that you're not going to give up on it. If it doesn't happen right away, or if it takes a long time to happen, stick with it. She didn't even get Golden Girls until she was 51. So like, and like I said in the beginning of the video, she didn't even meet the real love of her life until she was 62. So that was her sixth marriage. Like, you guys have, like, it's so important to remember to just give things time. Like, you do not have to rush. You are not behind. You have no idea what the rest of your life is going to look like. When you're in your 20s, there's all this pressure to like make sure that everything is planned and you're making all the right moves, but you have no clue what's going to happen for you literally in the next month, in the next week, in the next year. Like, your life is so, hopefully, prayerfully, going to be so long. You have so much time, even though it doesn't feel like it. So just, said all that to say, give yourself, like, allow yourself to stick to something long enough for it to happen. I think so many people give up before they hit the breakthrough. Successful people are literally just people who tried one more time. People who make it are just failures who tried one more time. Like, there's no difference between people who make, the only difference between people who make it and people who don't make it are the person who made it literally just kept trying when most people gave up. That is it. And so I think it's a huge life lesson in Rue Mcclanahan's story to like just keep going until you get it. Because eventually, if you stick with something long enough, it's almost impossible for it to not happen. But she finally got in a soap opera in her late 30s, and then she was on Maude with B. Author. If you have never seen her on Maude, it is one of the funniest episodes in TV history. She's like she's like B author's neighbor, and she's like there's a like the first episode she's on, she's like in a house coat, but I think she was like thought she was opening the door to like her husband or her man or whatever, so she was completely naked under the coat, and so she goes to open the door and like basically flashes B Arthur and her husband, I believe. That was like in the episode. It's been so long since I've seen it, but I love that episode so much. It is hilarious. It is TV gold. Like, when I tell you, they do not make them like this anymore when it comes to acting and TV shows and stuff. Oh my god, it's TV gold. But she like opens up her coat and she's obviously like naked underneath, and it is so funny because like B Author's face is very like straightforward, like very straight, and like she does not have facial expressions. It's so funny. But it is such an iconic episode. Um, if you haven't seen Maude, do yourself a favor and watch that, because that is the show where like the author became huge before Golden Girls. But like definitely check that out. So yeah, then, you know, once her like TV career started taking off, Rue Mcclanahan got married again, and again she thought this was it, and it was not. She, that man ended up. I think he was really with her for the money. She didn't like say that specifically, but like that's pretty much how the story kind of went. Um, he he married her, and then he like I think he like quit his job and wanted to go back to school to become a like some kind of real estate person, I believe. And so he did that, and then he like basically she said that he didn't want her to have her own life, like he wanted her to always be with him. And she talks about her birthday and like him not taking doing anything much for her birthday. Like, he just wanted her to go with him to meet some clients, or like he would just do stuff like that, but it would be like a lot of it, like over and over and over again. And she just wasn't really able to live her own life. He wasn't very supportive, and you know, and he was also what I believe was kind of money hungry. And so he divorced her, but by then she was making a lot of money, and she had to give him half of everything that she made. And she had made very good money by then because she was in TV by then. Um, and so what I hate about that husband was that she told him, if you take half of everything I've made, I'm not going to be able to send my son to music school. And he took her money anyway. That's how you know he was just not a good person. He was money hungry, was not supportive, and he was. I think he saw, what a star she was, or what a star she was becoming, and took advantage of that. Unfortunately, and I don't think she said any of that, but that's what I take from the story. And but she did tell the story of like her telling him like, if you take my money, I'm not gonna have the money to send my kid to school. Like, what man does that? Like, what? Especially not someone that's supposed to like be in love with me. Anyway, they got divorced, and then she got married again. I can't remember if we're at five. Are we at husband number five? Husband number five? Husband number six? Somewhere around there. Husband number six, I really don't remember what happened. I like lost track. I do know that by the sixth time she got married, she was 62. And um, love of her life. Like, she absolutely loved him. What I love about her last marriage, they didn't get married until they were 62. So again, girl, you have so much time. And they stayed married for 12 years. Like, you would think like getting married that quote unquote old, or getting married that late in life, that the clock would be kind of ticking. Like, you wouldn't be able to like spend a good amount of time with that person if you get married at that age. They were together for 12 years, and literally until she passed away. And what I find, her story is like so much of a roller coaster, because the same day that her sixth husband professed his love to her, told her how he really felt, was the same day that she got diagnosed with breast cancer. So she said that she had been sick before, and she was okay, but like it wasn't cancer the first time. Like, the first time she had like a respiratory something happen. Um, then she got diagnosed with cancer. Her cancer story, you guys, is like, she was just such a fighter, and it ended up going into remission. That's not what she ended up dying from years later. She passed away, I believe, from a stroke. But she did get diagnosed with cancer, and like the same day, literally, she said it was on the same day that her husband professed his love to her. So it's like a tragic romantic situation, which is, again, it's just so on brand. Like, as horrible as it is, like Rue Mcclanahan and Blanche are like hopeless romantics. Like, they just have that in common. Like, that part of her character was her. Anyway, she got diagnosed with cancer, and her husband still married her, like knowing what he was walking into. And I just think that's so romantic. And she, like, had a beautiful wedding, and just, they ended up having a beautiful marriage. But she said, what I wanted to point out from her survival story, she said it's so much more important, and you have, a person has a much better chance of surviving, of making it through um, something as horrible as cancer. The chances of surviving are so much greater when you approach that situation, when you ask the question, like, what's the first step we can do? What is the first thing I need to do? Rather than asking the question, oh no, why is this happening to me? She said, like, what she believes like really helped get her through that situation so much was that she went into it. Of course, she said initially she almost fainted when the doctor told her, as anyone would, getting that information. But she said, like, when she collected herself and came to terms with everything, she really just asked, okay, like, what do we need to do first? And she says that when you have that as your mindset going into this situation, it's so much better, and it gives you such a greater chance at surviving, than going into it just throwing a pity party and saying, why me? Why is this happening to me? I don't deserve this. Wrong attitude. She's like, kind of like, just get your logical mind on, get your business mind on, like, what's the first step we need to take? What do I need to do to do everything I can to make it through this? Also, when talking about her cancer story, get, I pray that no one watching this video has to go through this, but she said, like, always get a second opinion. And this can apply to anything, it doesn't have to apply to cancer. Any like health issues, she said that she got multiple opinions when it came to, the first steps to take. And, she ended up not needing, um, what is it? The mastectomy? Is that what it's called? When you like the surgical breast situation. But she got different opinions and ended up not needing to get as severe surgery as the first doctor said she would need to get. And so, I think, like, when going in that through that, I pray that no one has to go through that ever, but including myself, pray that none of us do. But she just really said, one, make sure you stay on top of your health, get your mammograms. This is your reminder to stay on top of your health, but to also get multiple opinions. What one doctor says, might not be the end all be all. And I think that's really important to keep in mind when you go through any type of health situation. Also, when it came to her cancer journey, she said that she would visualize. And so she said she got an exercise from her therapist to draw. What did she say? She used to draw rocket ships who were like she used to draw rocket ships shooting rays at what she calls the dumb cancer cells. And she would literally just draw pictures of rays shooting the dumb cancer cells in her body. And she says that alone helped her so much. And she said it was such a part of her healing journey, her recovery journey, such a huge part of that process going through that. She's like visualization and using her imagination to literally just imagine herself healed and imagine the cancer cells literally getting shot. Like imagine the cancer cells dying as much as possible. She talks about, how visualization was so helpful to her during that time. And it's just really important to use whatever, techniques and exercises bring you peace, when going through something like that. And it does not have to be, something as severe as cancer. It can be just anything hard you might be going through in your life. Do something as simple as visualizing yourself doing something else on a regular basis, even if it seems, you know, like it's not working or like it'll never happen. The power of your imagination is so, 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 so strong. And she ended up, surviving um, that cancer diagnosis. She ended up going into remission. She ended up going back into her acting career after, going through that. And I just think her story is just so incredibly inspiring. One of my favorite things that she says is that life is not just about the good times. Life is about the in between moments too. Those are so important to life. The entirety of our lives make up the entirety of our lives. It's not just the good times, it's not just the bad times. One of my favorite quotes by John Batiste is actually very similar. It's life is, what did he say? Life is all the times, all the times. Like you're not just going through the good times right now. Like these are the good times over here and these are the bad times. Life is all the times, all the times. And if you've never seen any of my other videos before, I lost my mom last year at 25. And it was just such a, obviously life altering, devastating, traumatic moment in my life. And last year still ended up, being extremely hard, still depressing every single day. I'm sad. But I've lived so much life since then. I've made so many incredible memories since then. And so, like, you can still, live your life and enjoy your life and find moments and things that make you happy and ways to love and, just enjoy your life while also going through hell at the same time, basically. It is possible to do both because life is both. Life is never just you're on top of a mountain and that's it, No one's life goes like that. Even the people who have it all, like Rue Mcclanahan, sorry. But that's why I do videos on these people because you really never know what people are going through. You don't know what people have been through. It looks like they have it all. And everyone struggles, no matter how rich, famous, wealthy, status, class, everyone goes through life. And life is all the times, all the time. It's not just the good times, it's not just the bad times, it's all the times, all the time. And I love that so much about her story. I think that, her story in particular is an extreme example of that. And she's just overcome so, so much. She says that setbacks are inevitable, but they do not define you. So never, ever, ever let things that get you down. She had a lot of things that got her down, a lot of obstacles that she had to overcome, health challenges, unemployment, divorce, lots of marriages, made some mistakes, made some bad decisions. Took a long time for her acting career to get off the ground, but like setbacks are inevitable, but they do not have to define you ever. She also says that kicks are just boosts. Like kicks literally just boost you in the right direction. And I thought that that was so fun, so incredible. She's such a hopeless romantic. I love that so much about her story because I am such a hopeless romantic. I love love. I feel like I'm that cartoon character that like has like hearts shooting out their eyes. Like I love so much. I talk about that part of myself and like, you know, more personal stuff in my podcast, so you guys can go check that out. But I am such a romantic. My podcast actually used to be called Don't Forget to Love when I first started it. But now it's called Thoughts by Mara. And I just, I am such a romantic. I have so much in common with Blanche, like with her character. And I love Rue Mcclanahan's character so much. B. Arthur actually said that she used to look down a little bit on Rue Mcclanahan's like naivete or like innocence because she was such a romantic and because she just wanted the fairy tale, which she did get. But like she said, she used to look down on that, as I think anyone would, especially like if you're friends with someone who you see going through that again and again and again. But she said, B. Arthur said that like she used to look down on her for the innocence and for the naivete, but then she was like, what the hell? Like it makes life so much more fun. It makes life so much more enjoyable, which I agree it definitely does. Like just having such a romantic view of life. Yes, it's optimistic. Yes, it's like cheesy or corny, but there's something so it's just better to do your best to try to enjoy life, even if you have to be delusional about it, than it is to be the complete opposite and be like super negative all the time or complain all the time or like think that everything's going to go wrong. And like she just has such an incredible outlook on life, and she just is very fearless and willing to take risks. And when she was in school, like I said before, she was like top of her class and had her own dance studio in high school. And she said she had her own car in high school, which like girls, women especially back then did not, have that much independence. And she just talks about, how free she was, how independent she was, how she was raised. Her parents never made her feel like her and her sister, like just because you're a girl means you can't do anything. Like she was super independent, and she moved to New York by herself after high school. Like she just did all of these things that got her to where where we all know she went. And she just had such an incredible life, but so much of it was because she kind of wore her heart on her sleeve and she took risks and she was fearless and she didn't care, what people thought. And she was able to raise her son. She did everything she could to raise him, and even marrying someone who may not have been the best person for her, but she did what she had to do at the time. And I just think she's incredible. Her favorite quote is, to thine own self be true. She said it took her a very very long time to get there, and eventually she got there. And I think that that is the perfect note to, end this little video talking about her. If you haven't read her book, please go read her book, Her First Five Husbands. And she did have six. I love the book so much. It's such a fun read. Like she's just so cool. Again, she's everything that you would expect the actress who played Blanche to like be like. If you haven't seen her in Maud or like any of her other roles, she was also in Wicked, in the theater version of Wicked, on Broadway years and obviously a very long time ago. But if you haven't seen her in other roles besides Blanche, go watch her in other TV shows, like or like in other roles, because she's completely different characters, like completely different characters. And like I said, I am all about knowing the artist or the actress or the influential person aside from what like the main thing that they're famous for. I like knowing all the behind the scenes stuff, all the real life stuff. I like getting in their business basically. I like just knowing that they're real people, and it just humanizes them. And again, it's just really cool to know that like nothing happens overnight. Successful people are successful because they've worked their booty off to get to where they are. They've been through so much more than most of us know. And I just love sharing people's stories. This is what I do for fun. I have had so much fun doing these videos. I cannot wait to do the videos on the rest of the Golden Girls. Um, Before I end off, a few of her like diet routines, habits. She did say that being an actress, she did really do her best to stick to a low calorie diet. And what else did she talk about? That, and she talked about obviously staying on her feet as much as possible, exercise. I believe that, going through all of her marriages probably caused her a great deal of stress. But through all of that, she still managed to really enjoy her life and to live a great life. She did a lot with animal rights as well, and all of the Golden Girls, I know her, and Betty White especially was like a huge animal rights activist, which Rue Mcclanahan also did a lot of work in. And I just love her. I love her story so much. Comment down below your favorite Golden Girl, and comment down below: are you a Blanche? Are you a Dorothy? Are you a Rose? Are you a Sophia? Like, which one of the Golden Girls is your personality? And I would love to know. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and go check out the rest of the videos that I have in this series and the rest of the videos I have on my channel in general. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you in my next one. Bye.